What's up, guys? It's King Andrew. We're here. We're finally getting started. Just got out of the coin toss lobby with the captains. Technically a captain and an assistant captain, so we should be getting started pretty soon with the lobby. So tonight, just in case you can't read the stream title, we've got a match of Div C West, US Army Esports versus Sands of Time. Technically, it's the other way around. I should say Sands of Time first because they are the home team, but US Army Esports was the name that popped first into my head, so I just let it flow like that. Let's take a look at our map screen, see how things went down in that regard. So as we can see, Sands of Time did ban out Alterac Pass and Volskaya Foundry. US Army Esports banned out Cursed Hollow and Sky Temple and ended up picking Dragonshire. Often interesting to see Dragonshire. It is a map that is, in my opinion, a little bit more advanced. I actually feel it's one of the more advanced maps, period, in the pool. It's a tough map. My team actually tries to avoid that map because it's a doozy. But we'll see how this goes. And our teams here, obviously, we're only into week 2 of the season, so I don't know really what the relative strengths of these teams are. I do know that Sands of Time has won their first round match, whereas US Army Esports has lost their first round match. So Sands of Time, at least right now, is higher up in the standings, but really can't use that either way to tell which one of these teams is stronger, which one of these teams is going to win. I do know that US Army Esports is a team that has been around for quite a while. When I say quite a while, I mean like really, really long time. Like literal years. They were around in the Heroes Lounge days, back when that was still a thing in North America, and they've done many different seasons in NGS as well. I've even played against them at least once, maybe twice. And they've definitely had some members of their teams that are pretty long-standing that have been with them for the whole time. At the same time, they also have some members of the team who are newer this season, members in the past that have left. By contrast, Sands of Time is, as far as I know, a new team this season. That being said, although they are a new team, the players are not new. The players are actually all experienced players that just kind of came together through whatever force brought them together. And so far, at least based on their round 1 victory, things are looking good for them. So we'll see how things go in this match tonight. What's up, guys? It's King Andrew. I am a Heroes of the Stormcaster, NGS player, ARAM enthusiast, voice actor, former school teacher. I wear many hats, and I'm glad to bring you this match tonight. We're in the lobby, so hopefully we'll get started any second now. I'm going to let them know that I'm ready so that we don't run into an impasse of people looking at each other expecting things to happen, and then they don't, and people wonder. Anyway, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. I am rambling. We do have all of our players in the lobby. So that does mean I know exactly who's playing for these teams, even though these teams have more than 5 people on their roster. They both have quite a few. I think they're both in the 7 or 8 range in terms of how many people are on their rosters. Obviously, some people couldn't make it. I was told by that. I think I was told that the captain of Sands of Time couldn't make it. I think I saw that in the chat. And thank you also to some first-time chatters meeting me for the first time, I assume. And, yeah. With any luck, we'll get it started any second now. So, guys, how is Baldur's Gate 3? You guys enjoying it? This is what I start talking about when I have run out of things to talk about, and I'm really just hoping that the draft gets started. You liking Baldur's Gate 3? Me too. I'll like it in about 3 years when I buy it for $30, because right now I don't want to spend $60, $70, whatever it actually costs. I don't like to buy games at full price. This is something I sometimes tell about myself in stream. Why buy a full price game at $60 when you can wait 3 years and spend $30? Same great game. You spend less money. And hopefully we'll have great games tonight. That's my transition. Don't know too much about the drafting styles of these. We'll talk about it more once we actually get into the draft. Second season in NGS. Obviously, a lot of you guys in the chat are probably playing in NGS anyway. You guys win your round 1 matches, and if you didn't, that's okay. Plenty of season left to go. I was lucky to win my first round match. Very lucky. It was kind of a bit of a doozy. We dropped, so we went to game 3 in my series, and I think the first 2 games were very close, and then the last game in my first round series was actually pretty clean. which was nice. It was also, my team also beat a team that they had lost in the previous season, except I wasn't with them in the previous season, so they kind of got revenge, but I didn't. Know that at least Sands of Time are ready, so at the right now, it's all on U.S. Army Esports to get us going into this series. Yeah, no problem. And then, Ice Queen, you're on one of these teams. You're on one of these teams, even though you're not playing right now. You might have been the person who I was told wouldn't be here. I don't know. And we're so close. We're almost ready. Yeah, I picked this up last minute. Typically, I want to cast these days, but I often wait until the day of to actually pick up a match, just based on what other things I might have going on. I actually had an online class that I was taking for audio engineering that basically ran from 4 to 6 o'clock. And when I got out, I'm like, all right, it's time to pick up a cast. I was considering picking up one of the 6 o'clock casts or matches, but my class didn't end before then, so it's okay. I didn't settle. That was destiny. That was fate. That's how things were meant to be. And finally, we're just about to get into this draft. Almost. We're at that like 3, 2, 1, and then it like doesn't do anything because the game is loading, and now we're actually into the draft. All right, game number 1 between U.S. Army Esports and Sands of Time. Once again, for some reason, I want to say the away team first, even though the home team comes up first on the screen. But I don't know much about the drafts or the hero pools of either of these teams. I do know that Fracture likes to play Greymane. I know he definitely likes it a lot. There was a season when I played against him fairly recently where like there was talks about were we going to ban Greymane, and then we let it through one game, and then they won that game, but instead it's going to be Lucio banned out first. Greymane is a ban that, to be honest, I don't want to see, because Greymane is not really a super first pick-worthy. He's neither a super first pick-worthy hero nor a super first ban-worthy hero, unless the Greymane player is just like absolutely cracked, which maybe Fracture is. On the side of Sands of Time, I don't even know too much about roles. I've seen previous seasons where I thought Bone Z, or maybe it's Bone Z, or maybe it's just Bones, was a DPS player, but I think he's actually playing tank. I feel like I've caught some streams of them playing where he was playing tank. Dahaka going to be banned out on the side of U.S. Army Esports. I do like that ban. In fact, I like both of these bans in the sense that they are very meta bans. Dahaka is one of the top 3 offlaners in the game. Lucio is one of the top 4 healers in the game. So right now we're just banning out strong things, which always interesting to see at the Div C level, Div C being a level that is, you know, sometimes you might see bans that are more based on comfort or target, because regardless of what heroes are meta at higher levels, our players may not play those heroes. The Anu ban is not quite what I expect at in that primary ban phase. Could mean something like they might be looking for a Stitches pickup, or they might just feel that they're vulnerable to dive. And then Brightwing ban, another very meta ban, both Lucio and Brightwing among the top 4 healers in the game, 2 of the top 4. Now the Garrosh pick out of the gate blows my mind. I think this is a pretty risky first pick. So he must just be that confident on it to pull out the Garrosh in the first pick, and possibly even worried that he doesn't get it if he doesn't pick it up right there. Meanwhile, the Johanna and the Anduin pick on the other side seems a lot more normal to me. I mentioned the top 4 healers. Anduin is one of them. There's only one of the top 4 left, which I believe is Rhaegar. But instead, we're going to see the Malfurion. Malfurion does have some good potential synergy with Garrosh in that you can follow up with a root after the toss. It's a little bit tricky because of the way root works, where it does have a little bit of activation time, and the toss from Garrosh plus the stun from the Groundbreaker is not actually a super long CC effect, it's just a very powerful displacement, so the root might miss. Meanwhile, Vala, just a super strong hero. Some of my friends think she's not so great on this map because of how you have to rotate between lanes and you drop Hatred. Hogger's going to be banned out. I'm surprised Hogger hasn't shown up in this draft before. I talked about top 3 offlaners. 2 of them are Dahaka and Hogger, the other one being Blaze, and we haven't seen either one, so we haven't had an offlaner picked yet. And although I think Blaze is one of the top 3 offlaners, He's actually not my favorite on this map because he doesn't really handle dueling on the point so well. Meanwhile, we're going to have the Garrosh, but not the Garrosh. The Garrosh is picked up a long time ago. Tychus ban, also something that to me, again, personally, is a little strange. Certainly percent damage does do a lot to Garrosh in terms of just damaging him, but Tychus needs to get very close in order to do that, and getting close is what Garrosh wants to do anyway. There is that gray main I was talking about from Fracture. Likes it a lot. And the Lunara. So kind of like a double AA style setup, which sometimes people think that's like not good because you can't mix them, you can't have like two AAs. It's fine. Especially here, I think between Lunara and Greymane, I think that actually makes life really, really hard for Garrosh if they play it well. I think Lunara does very well with her having faster movement speed, makes her a little bit harder to catch. Greymane, if played correctly, especially once he gets talents, can also just do a very good job of kiting Garrosh. We're going to see the Malthael and the Hanzo picked up in these last two slots. Malthael is a little bit squishy for a bruiser, for an offlaner. So, we don't have a global that can really punish that as hard. It's going to be the Sonya in the final slot for US Army Esports. And that's our draft. Wondering if we're going to see any flips, any switches, any swaps, all of the synonyms for that word, trades in this last round, but doesn't look like it. So, that's going to be our Game 1 draft. And we'll see how this goes. So far, I'm personally slightly favoring the draft out of US Army Esports, in part because of how early that Garrosh pick is, and then a lot of things that were chosen in response that I feel the Garrosh is rather weak to. But before I talk any further about that, let's just get into this Game 1.
Prepare for combat.
Our team that is higher in the standings at the moment, Sands of Time. We've got Bonesy or Bonezed or Bones, whatever we call him on the Garrosh. IT Cowboy, the information technology cowboy on the Malthael. Saralath will be playing Hanzo. Nova is on the Vala, and Band-Aid is going to be on the Malfurion. Their opponents, the US Army Esports. We're going to have Honey Badger playing as Johanna. It's going to be that one guy on Anduin, Fracture on Greymane, his signature pick, Ace Boogie on the Sonya, and Surefire is going to be on the Lunara. So our members of US Army Esports actually just rotating to lanes, deciding they don't want to just fight mid. I think one of the obvious reasons they want to do that is they want to deny stacks, more so for Vala than Hanzo, but you know what, slow down Hanzo's stacking as well as long as we're at it. They also start to get a little bit further ahead on Soak. So yeah, the Garrosh pick here is a big thing of... That's where in the draft, that's one of the things that I really identified as one of the driving things behind this draft and behind this game, where that's a very early Garrosh pick. Now, on the one hand, I think Garrosh is very good at controlling this triangle, and then it can become very dangerous to walk into that triangle, and especially to face check if you don't know where the Garrosh is, if you don't have vision of it. So that's kind of the advantage of the Garrosh. Disadvantages of the Garrosh that early on is that most of these heroes are actually pretty strong into Garrosh. You know who's not looking pretty strong into Garrosh right now, though? It's Fracture going down. Our first death in this game. Again, most of the heroes on the side of US Army Esports actually pretty strong into Garrosh. We're going to see an invade by Sands of Time, capitalizing on their kill. Johanna, one of the most forgiving tanks if she is thrown in by Garrosh. Lunara, very good at kiting, poking down, and gapping Garrosh. Greymane takes a couple talents, but eventually, especially by level 16, he is also very good just for kiting and burning down Garrosh and making it hard for him to do anything. Anduin, also good for just pulling a target that gets thrown in. We even saw it with that one engage, but unfortunately the target was pulled right into Garrosh. So that is just really, for me, what a lot of this game is about. What's going on here is IT Cowboy nearly going down to Ace Boogie as we take a look at our offlane matchup. Sands of Time going to be controlling that bottom shrine as they pull up with these, with Siege Camp. Nova looking to maybe do some damage on this fort. Man, only 3 stacks on the Vala and only 0 on the Hanzo. So the stacks being denied. Unfortunately, the damage on this wall is not being denied. I guess if they can't hit heroes, they'll just take the structures. Honey Badger gonna walk in, gets a condemn. Bones Ed getting just reduced down to so little hit points. Fracture comes all the way in here. Fracture's pretty low. He could get thrown in. He does get thrown in. Fracture does not get out. So I talked up that Greymane a bit. Also, have been very critical of the Garrosh so far, but the honest truth so far is the Garrosh is doing just fine, and the Greymane has been struggling a little bit. The only hero that has died in this game so far, and US Army Esports can't really take this at the moment. That Garrosh also going to be supported by the Malfurion, who's going to provide a lot of heals, and Surefire is going to go out too. I did also talk about how I feel Lunara is good against Garrosh, but she can't afford to get thrown in, at least not until level 10 before getting Leaping Strike, which don't know for sure if that's what she'll go, but I think it is a little bit safer here when you're dealing with a Garrosh. Meanwhile, there is a Bruiser camp here that also got a ton of value. Dragon Knight pushing top is actually quite interesting, but it's just going to work. Meanwhile, we've got Sands of Time pushing bottom. Sands of Time really in the driver's seat in this game. Front wall already down in this bottom lane. Even some decent damage on that fort. And the Dragon Knight, although this is not where I expect it to go, is nevertheless getting things done. It's getting siege damage done. Dragon Knight's about to go down. IT Cowboy, not really going to be punished for it. I don't think so. Even with this rotation by Fracture, there's just not enough CC to actually make a kill happen. And then Sands of Time are actually just going to pick up this Bruiser camp. Pretty much uncontested. No one from US Army Esports is going to get down here in time. So while I prefer the draft of US Army Esports, right now, Sands of Time are kind of running a circle around US Army Esports. They are playing like the stronger team. We'll see how that goes, even though they may not be getting many stacks, but at the end of the game's not about how many stacks you have or how many kills you have. It's about taking down all the structures, taking down that core. Bruiser camp getting some decent value as well. I don't know how much longer this fort is going to last, down to about 40% of its hit points now. Bonesy a little premature on that Groundbreaker, trying to get some damage on the siege camp, but it wasn't there yet. I've done that before. You think you can time it perfectly, and then you just kind of use your cooldown and hit nothing. Camp's going to be taken on the other side too for US Army Esports, so Camp's just being matched. No Bruiser camp to take for US Army Esports because they already took it. Got some value out of it as well. So we're going to see Sands of Time just starting to paint the map blue. IT Cowboy moving in there. Potentially was almost looking like he was going to get caught. So taking a look at our build so far. One of the interesting things that strikes me is this Wizened Duelist out of the Greymane. So Fracture looking to play into really like the hyper carry, mega damage build for Greymane. Just really needs to be careful not to die any more than he already has. Otherwise it's going to be very difficult to get any value out of that. Meanwhile, we've got a 4-man rotation here. IT Cowboy doesn't go down. They have to go back and clear the camp, and that allows Sands of Time to send that Dragon Arrow all the way over to Europe, while they also finish the bottom fort. IT Cowboy just kind of playing it safe here in this bush. And without like Johanna up here and no leap yet on Sonya, there is no real threat against IT Cowboy. 4-man from Sands of Time moving mid. Just catching those waves. They're ahead and soak, and we are going to see heroics come out on the side of US Army Esports. So 10 against 10 for both sides. Sonya thinking about it a little bit. Instantly use leap, which I barely caught there as I was looking, and does actually finish IT Cowboy off with that. So first kill, finally, for US Army Esports. Something they needed. Just needed some kind of positive swing in their direction. Seralath is going to catch the soak and deny the push as best he can. Band-Aid gets thrown out by the Into the Fray of Garrosh, and for now, he's alive. I don't think anyone here is going to die on the side of Sands of Time. It was a 3v4, and although they got engaged on, they were able to just kind of weather it out. So, Sonya looking to capture that Dragon Knight, and here's another Dragon Arrow. Let's see where this one goes. This one looks like it's going all the way down to Antarctica. While Dragon Knight's picked up by Sonya. So, US Army Esports kind of stabilizing in this game, getting a kill, getting an objective. How much longer will this Dragon Knight last, though? Given that it is being burned down by Malthael, gonna knock away the Hanzo. I actually wonder if it's possible that Malthael does more DPS against the Dragon Knight than Hanzo. Not sure, really don't know. Another kick, gonna knock away the Hanzo. Maybe he's thinking about that same question as well. And Sonya is able to just get out safely, but it looks like there's a fight going down here. That one guy already looking pretty low. Maybe Sonya looking for a leap out of this. Good opportunity. There's gonna be a light bomb engage on to the Malthael. Malthael is dead, and we have potential leap. Leap is actually optimistic. They got pushed a little too far in, but a kill for US Army Esports. So coming back in this mid game. They'll pick up their siege camp while Sonya moves up to collect the soak. Huge wave up top with another one followed behind it. And we are going to see Hanzo just work on the camp. So, called out some of the heroics. One of the other heroics that does strike me as interesting is this Twilight Dream out of Malfurion. Typically, I do think of the heal as standard, but I love Twilight Dream. It's actually a really exciting ult, do huge amounts of burst damage, and silence the enemy team for 3 seconds or 5 seconds at level 20, which is ridiculous. And it's also something where if Bones or Bonesy or Bones Ed throws in Johanna and they get that Malfurion silence, they can kill Johanna, and then Johanna doesn't look so good against Garrosh anymore. Other than that, most of the heroics look pretty standard to me. Bruiser Camp's going to move up in favor of Sands of Time, but they're not going to push with it. Yeah, this actually does strike me. I don't know. They'll get some push mid, I suppose, but I believe they just had double camp bottom that they didn't escort and just allowed to get cleared out. But they'll also get the front wall mid. So either way, although I don't know there for sure what the best play would be, but they got some value nevertheless. Bruiser Camp going to be picked up by Sands of Time. As a level 13 talent tier comes in. Actually, it's already come in for a while, but Malthael is holding it. Wonder what they're thinking about. Normally would expect the Unstoppable, but I think the CC out of the side of US Army Esports could be a little bit difficult to react to, so instead we're going to see the Soul Siphon to increase that life leech that he gets out of Soul Rip. Alright, we've got 4 up here, with only Lunara in bottom. They might be looking for Malthael. Instead, they're just going to clear this Bruiser Camp, and then they'll probably take control of the top shrine. Lunara running around bottom, using the Wisp to scout out that triangle, but now that means there are only 4 here, 4 US Army Esports. Surefire trying to rejoin the team because that was 5 from Sands of Time, possibly looking to force something. Nothing too much exciting happening just yet, but again, that scouting from that Wisp. Another element that I feel actually makes Lunara strong into Garrosh and makes it a little bit difficult for Garrosh to play into this, or play here. That is going to be a sleeping Johanna thrown in. She will use both her Unstoppable and the Leap of Faith from Anduin is used. I think the Leap of Faith there, probably a little unnecessary, probably just got scared, but they both had cooldowns for saving and getting out of there. And he kind of just used it, probably just to be sure. Wow, Fracture goes in! But he is untargetable with that Eyes in the Dark, so Bonesy actually can't punish the fact that he disengaged in. Alright. Just have a little bit of a fight over this, but Greymane's gonna move out, put some pressure onto Malthael, but instead it might be Sonya going down. It's close. Oh my god, Sonya, does she actually stay alive? I don't know if she does. 14! She doesn't. So it's a 1-for-1 trade, despite that being a 2v1 in mid. Meanwhile, 16 talent tier advantage. Bonesy just gonna walk in. Johanna's up here. And even if she does want to contest this, of course, Garrosh can just throw them out. Unless, of course, they just commit the... Well, they do have Iron Skin as a way of dealing with that, too. So both teams just kind of holding even right now. We had a pretty strong start for Sands of Time, but in this mid game, things actually looking very even. Couldn't look much more even. Definitely not odd, just very even. And there is our first disconnect of the game. Band-Aid. It's going to be out of there. All right, so going to wait a little bit for Band-Aid to get back into this game. Hopefully it comes soon. Saw some other things going on. In fact, we have the full Soul Rip build out of Malthael. Going for the Soul Collector at 16, reducing Soul Rip's cooldown by 0.5 seconds and increasing its range by 25%. So he's really gone all in on sustain and just all in on matching the pictures in the build. I think it's fine. Some other players on the side of U.S. Army Esports still considering their talents. We do have... Looks like we're R, so hopefully we're going to be going back into this game anytime soon. They want to know that I'm ready. Except I can't tell them that I'm ready because... I am an observer, so they can't see my chat. They will never know if I'm ready, so they're probably going to wait forever. Expecting me to tell them that I'm ready. When I can't tell them. I don't know what I'm... Maybe I just, like, message them on Discord. I think I'll try to do that. Oh, no, they're just counting down. Good, because I literally can't tell them that I'm ready. And here we go, back into the game. All right, so 16 talents here are going to be picked up by U.S. Army Esports. Only Johanna who's still thinking about it. I don't think there should really be any thinking. Maybe just hasn't really noticed that she has to pick a talent. But I think with this level 1 Zealous Glare, I think going into the Shield Glare's cooldown reduction is kind of a mandatory pick. Yeah, it's really a necessary pairing. Holy Renewal, the name of that talent is. Meanwhile, Johanna's going to get thrown in, just going to use the Unstoppable. So that engage doesn't really achieve much, but they already hold the bottom shrine. Sands of Time, that is. Meanwhile, USA Honey Badger walking in. He doesn't quite have it yet. Oh, Blessed Shield on the back line. Greymane's going to go in. Band-Aid gets thrown out, but is it enough? Now we finally see health bars going down pretty low. Honey Badger thrown over the wall. Does get pulled back over. That's one of the advantages of having an aim. What the sleep from Malfurion. Keeps people stunned long enough, or slept technically, for that to somehow be a winning fight for Sands of Time. It was looking better for U.S. Army Esports at first. The initial engage with the Blessed Shield, I think they got the initial kill. Then, of course, though, Sonya died off screen in a 1v1 against Malthael, so it's still actually Sands of Time looking stronger here. Out of our level 16s, another thing that does look interesting is we're going to see the Alpha Killer out of Greymane. Now, on the one hand, Alpha Killer can be great for cutting through that armor from Garrosh in his trait, but going with this means you're really Worgen-centric, and he really has built his whole build around being Worgen-centric. Maybe not his whole build, but it's definitely a little bit Worgen-oriented. Typically, to kite Garrosh, you really want to stay at range and just shoot him down until he just has no health left to walk in. Band-Aid again in trouble. Dragon Arrow finally connects. Surefire super low and doesn't get out of here either. Fracture does manage to get out with less than 100 hit points. Saralath, I think he goes down. I was going to say to the poison, but it was from the Shield Glare instead. And finally, we have a whole fight going in favor of U.S. Army Esports. Percent damage on that Sonya possibly was going to threaten to kill the Garrosh. Might still threaten to kill the Garrosh. Indeed does. No longer threatening, actually doing it. And I think maybe now they want to see if they can get more. No, I guess they just don't have enough cooldowns to chase into the fort. So they've gotten their first big team wipe, or their first big team fight win. What are they going to get out of that? Honey Badger, no, Ace Boogie looking to push top, but that's going to be slowed down quite a bit by Ace Cowboy, and then we just get into this 1v1 that Ace looks like he doesn't really want, and both players just going to start rotating. Yeah, I mean, they haven't gotten much out of this yet. like soak at best, but they're still behind on the race to 20. And now finally they're going to start to get a little bit of damage bottom. I think maybe they should have gone to this. I think this should have just been what they should have done as soon as they got all those kills. Take these exact heroes, let Johanna use Iron Skin and tank it for a bit if the minion wave isn't there, and just let Greymane get some push value with his just massive DPS. They'll pick up that bruiser camp while they still have the advantage, given that Sands of Time had only just respawned. So now both teams kind of just taking safe camps. Sands of Time at 20. US Army Esports slowly but surely advancing to level 20. The Farflight Quiver out of Vala going to be a huge advantage, but man, only 46 stacks on that Vala. So, and not to roast the Vala, I think the way this game has just been played so far, I think it's been a relatively low kill game. Low kills, 8-8. Let's try that again. I think it just hasn't been a game where there really has been that much brawling. I think it's been mostly just rotations, and then the kills that we had were just decisive team fights. A couple picks early on, though. So we got some people rooting for US Army Esports in the chat, including former US Army Esport member Simeon, and I was going to say, I wonder, never mind. I'm going to just hold my train of thought. Sonya looking to take this top shrine, while IT Cowboy clears out this bruiser camp. We're going to see the rotation here. We got like a 5-man rotation looking to kill Greymane. Okay, the leap! Oh no, misses! The spear to follow it up. Fracture going to go in. I think they will get the kill out of this, and they should also just take this! Oh, because this is why they can't just take that. They don't want to trade a fort for a keep, but they might just lose the keep anyway. They're just, oh my god. Even with that kill, Sands of Time capitalizing on that opportunity. Man. And even with the lead in kills, it really just looks like Sands of Time are just kind of one step ahead, maybe even 2 steps ahead. That kill really ends up not being worth it. Losing an entire keep for it, and now possibly losing the Dragon Knight. Meanwhile, Ace Boogie was in that bush. Bush was checked by Vala because Garrosh was looking for the Dragon Knight. Possibly just looking to straight up end the game here. Leap is up. Blessed Shield is up. I wonder if US Army Esports maybe just looks for an engage past the Dragon Knight. Tricky part with that is the fact that we are going to have that happen. One hero just knocked way past, but is that the hero that you want to knock way past? Oh no, Fracture's already gone. Dragon Arrow also goes down, or out. Honey Badger trying to make something of this, but that leap, or rather that kick from the Dragon Knight, still proving to be a problem. Nova at 63 hit points, but actually getting heals and not dying. Alright, eventually does go down, but still a massively winning trade. That's the game in favor of, oh yeah. That is the game in favor of Sands of Time. They have overall looked like the stronger team in this game. US Army Esports making a good fight of it in the mid game, but in the end, just some great decisions by Sands of Time to pull through with the win. So some of those things like that rotation to actually kill Malthael, I believe it was a 5-man rotation to kill Malthael into losing the keep, is just some of the tricky decision-making, or how decision-making gets a little tricky on this map. And I do believe this is, you know, a very difficult map. I don't want to play this map. All right, so as we take a look at our match summary, nothing really stands out too much in terms of damage. No real outliers. Actually, the outlier is that by far the highest damage on both teams are the offlaners, but it is 2 high damage offlaners, and means they were probably just engaged in dueling each other a lot, whereas the 4-mans were really just kind of rotating around each other, which, granted, is something that happens on this map. 13 kills in favor of Sands of Time. The highest death's actually the Malthael, so, and that does kind of go into what some of the risks of picking Malthael are, where he is a little bit gank sensitive. He's a little bit susceptible to ganks, that is. got killed a few times, but in the end, the overall level of play, and especially out of the 4-man from Sands of Time, was enough that they just came ahead in that game. Started out ahead, things evened out in the middle, and then in the end, Sands of Time just pulled away with it. All right, guys, welcome here. Glad to have you tonight as we watch this match between Sands of Time and U.S. Army Esports. Obviously, we got some Sands of Time fans who might be a little disappointed, but series is not over yet. And we've also got Ice Queen in the chat, who I'm sure is very, very proud of the victory in this map 1 for her team. I'm King Andrew. If you don't know me, I'm a Heroes of the Storm player, Heroes of the Storm caster, ARAM enthusiast, voice actor, and also a former elementary school teacher. I wear many hats, except not wearing one right now. So it's good to see you tonight. And wondering where we'll go for this next map. So let's actually take a look at the map screen and also update it. Gotta do my due diligence. It is Sands of Time taking that victory. So they are the winners of Game 1. Don't know what map we're going to see yet out of U.S. Army Esports, but let's just take a look at what's left and what options there are. I would always personally love to see Battlefield of Eternity and Towers of Doom, just because they're my favorite maps, but we also have Braxis Holdout as a choice, Garden of Terror, Infernal Shrines, and Tomb of the Spider Queen. Now, if Fracture really wants to play into that gray main, Battlefield of Eternity is a great choice for that. He's not so bad on the other maps, decent on Garden of Terror as well. But we'll see. I really don't know what their preferences are. All right. Found out what the map for Game 2 is going to be. It's going to be Towers of Doom, which does make me very happy. I do love to see this map. Anytime. It's a lot of people's favorite map because of the comeback potential of the map, which does have a lot to do with the unique structure design of the map, where you can technically always take back your forts, and the only way to damage the core being through shots from the towers, or I guess also from the camps or the boss. Historically, I think a lot of the most exciting games from like the professional era, the HTC era, have been on this map. Of course, the most remembered HTC game is the Dignitas versus Gen G game, but there have been tons of... There have been plenty of fantastic top-level games that have taken place on this map that I think it's just part of why it has that reputation of being such an exciting map. All right, looks like I also made a mistake here. This map was not picked by Sands of Time. It was picked by U.S. Army Esports. All right, and we're going to be going into a draft pretty soon as well. Got that 3, 2, 1, pause, wait until the game loads in. Oh, just kidding. Wrong scene. Let's try it again. There we go. All right. So what will we see banned out this time? Wonder if we'll see like a respect ban on Garrosh, even though I was very critical of the Garrosh first pick. And from a purely draft theory perspective, I'm still critical of it. Obviously, they made it work. They won with it. They played well enough to use it. And it could just be, you know, part of the strengths of the team, as well as Bones as a player. Garrosh is a hero where even if it's not always necessarily the quote-unquote correct pick, it can be a hero that requires discipline from the enemy team. And if they don't have that discipline, or if they're not playing correctly into it, it becomes a very frustrating and tilt-inducing hero. Meanwhile, bans so far, I think, look exactly the same as last game. So maybe these are more than just meta bans. Maybe these are both meta bans as well as preferred heroes by certain members of the enemy team. The Anubarak banned out again as well. So the exact same ban so far as last game. But is this last ban going to change anything? Our mid-ban phase will probably be different from before, which I think is just the nature of the mid-ban phase. The mid-ban phase is going to be a lot more reactive, where you're looking at, you know, what is the enemy team building so far, or what are we building, and does this certain pick make what we're building difficult to achieve or difficult to work with? That is not the same ban as before because that hero was played. That hero was played by Honey Badger. So we're going to see at the very least a different tank out of Honey Badger. Or we're going to see the first pick. We're going to see the first pick Garage again. I'm still critical of it, but also they won with it. So, you know, until they lose with it, it's also fine. And now U.S. Army Esports has actually banned the Johanna when, again, I feel that is a strong tank into Garrosh. There are some other tanks that are probably decent into Garrosh. Murden, yeah, so Murden decent into Garrosh, but not as strong as Johanna because you don't have the Unstoppable, which is a much more reliable way of negating the toss from Garrosh. Whereas if Murden goes in, he could try to jump out, but that jump out could also get stunned. It could get rooted by a Malfurion. There's the Malfurion again, so Band-Aid just liking that hero. I guess Sands of Time also just kind of thinking, you know, what we did works, why change it? The Tyke is going to be a little bit of a change. That was not the hero that they played last time. Last time they had Hanzo and Vala. I like the Tychus a lot in terms of the synergy with Garrosh. Tychus is a short-range hero, at least in terms of minigun, which is his big moneymaker. That is where he gets the most value. What's difficult about minigun is trying to actually get close enough to be able to shoot for 3 seconds uninterrupted. Garrosh just delivers a hero right to you. It also gives you huge kill pressure, or huge kill pressure against that Murid. In fact, the combination of the Malfurion, the Tychus, and the Garrosh, that by itself, I think, can kill a Muridin. Like any other DPS added on top of that, it's going to create huge kill pressure on top of a Muridin, and on top of, not a Muridin, but what else they have. Anyway, well, I'm talking long about all these different sorts of things. So many ways that this draft is getting ahead of me. Blaze picked up by Ace Boogie. One of the top 3 offlaners in the game, Sylvanas and Brightwing, picked up on the side of U.S. Army Esports. Meanwhile, the Anduin banned out by Sands of Time, and that's also something where the Anduin, I think, is fairly good at saving a target from Garrosh. So, although I was critical of the Garrosh, and still technically am, some of the tools that U.S. Army Esports had last game that are good for dealing with Garrosh are not available to them anymore. So Garrosh is actually looking even better than it did last game. Oh no, no, you didn't just do that. We got Vikings. Oh my god. I thought we wanted to have fun. Maybe fun for Sands of Time, but Vikings, what a hero. What will this final pick be for U.S. Army Esports? I feel like something like Tracer or Genji would be good to kind of hunt the Vikings. Wave clear's already covered by the Sylvanas, but they're not going to go with a ranged DPS at all. They're going to go with a second bruiser in the Sonya. So interesting pick up there. I'm not as sure about whose draft I like as much this time. Vikings can be super toxic and super hard to play against if you don't really know how. I don't know how to play against Vikings. And the kill pressure of the 4-man gang squad out of Sands of Time is also incredibly strong. We'll see how things go. All right, game number 2. Sands of Time going to be leading in this series 1-0, looking to close out the series in their favor with this Vikings comp played by IT Cowboy. Bonesy, Bonezed, Bones is going to be playing on the Garrosh yet again. And we're going to see Band-Aid on that Malfurion. Also yet again, Tychus played by Nova, not yet again. That's new. And Saralath is going to be playing as Tassadar. Their opponents, U.S. Army Esports, looking to come back in this game. Going to see what they can do with this triple frontline composition. Fracture is going to be on the Sonya this time. That one guy is going to be playing as the Brightwing. Surefire on the Sylvanas. Honey Badger on the Muridin. And it's going to be Ace Boogie playing on the Blaze. Ace Boogie just going straight top lane, not dealing with any mid lane shenanigans yet. US Army Esports kind of just hanging mid so far. I guess they're trying to see what's going to happen. Well, Sands of Time already kind of getting a little bit ahead of things, already moving out. They already have people occupying all 3 lanes. Saralath already here, picking up the soak bottom for Sands of Time on that Tassadar. We are going to see an AA Tychus at 1, which I think makes sense here, given that we do have the triple frontline out of US Army Esports. A lot of these are pretty tanky frontliners as well. So it does make sense. I'm usually a meta slave about going grenade build every game, but here I think the auto attack range on Tychus makes a bit of sense. Meanwhile, we're going to see Band-Aid being the target yet again. He's been the target many times last game. Fracture going in. I don't think he gets out of there alive. Yeah, just gets thrown right into the towers and takes so much damage from it that he goes down. Now that I have a little bit more time to process, I do like the draft out of... I honestly do like the draft out of Sands of Time more. And the question mark for me is this Sonya pick. Why was it a Sonya pick? Part of the reason I think that is because it's a Sonya into a Garrosh. The Garrosh just killed the Sonya by throwing her in. I think the better way to deal with the Garrosh is with ranged heroes. Just kite him down before he can ever get in close to actually do anything. Sylvanas is pretty good for that. But if you have 2 heroes to do that, that can be even better. Either way, we'll see what this Sonya gets done. Maybe things will happen a little bit more once we get to 10. Vikings actually going to be occupying... One going to be occupying the bush and infiltrated, just hiding here. Slows down the rotation from Ace Boogie. Meanwhile, I'm missing a fight here, and we had someone go down. Can't ever watch the offlane, man. Just not worth the time. Missing Murden going down. And I can only imagine how it happened. Probably Garrosh threw him in. He got rooted. We do have the sleep roots, which Band-Aid has already shown that he likes to go. And then the Tychus damage is there. We are going to see the Master Assassin out of Tychus. These days, this is the standard pick at 4 for Tychus. Just very reliable, unconditional. And our tower is going to come out. So Fracture now actually just looking to... Like, I'm even wondering, is the idea of the Sonya to just be able to match the Vikings in terms of having another laning unit or laning hero. IT Cowboy interrupting things a little bit. Sands of Time just going to take the bottom one completely uncontested. US Army Esports not even wanting to contest that bottom one, instead choosing to contest this one. A little bit strange to see this contest this early in the game. It's usually pretty tough to just fight your opponent off of this, but they're gonna do it, or at least they're gonna try. Honey Badger is looking pretty low, but Bone Z and Saralath getting out of there with just about 20% of their hit points, and Band-Aid has gone down. So Band-Aid has been targeted pretty hard, both in this game and the last. And that could just be the intention of the Sonya, especially once they get to 10. I think we'll most likely see another Leap Sonya to just try to go on to the Malfurion. Malfurion struggling a little bit with burst healing, so if both Sonya and Murden are just jumping on him, he might really have a tough time. But also, if Malfurion goes Twilight Dream and can just Twilight Dream them, that might also be kind of rough for the triple frontline. Ace Boogie and Fracture kind of doubling up in the lanes, which does strike me as a little bit odd, but oh, they're going to look for the invade here. Yeah. Sands of Time kind of just needs to get this. Not even worth fighting. Mostly just needs Saralath to get out. Now Bone Z just needs to get out. Yeah, that's an easy give. There is no contest on that. Vikings aren't here. 4v5. Some unfortunate permanent damage to take on the wall, but it is what it is. So we are going to see Siege Camp, Sapper Camp taken by US Army Esports. And we are going to have that second Shrine phase, which is always the single bottom. Always the single bottom, usually forcing just a full-on 5v5 team fight. We'll kind of see how that goes. Meanwhile, Baylog is going to go down. It does feel like at this point, I wonder if What are Sands of Time going to do? Are they going to look for a pick here? Because I don't know if they can fight this if Blaze goes, but of course if Blaze goes, then the Vikings just get a bunch of soak and get an XP lead, which they kind of need at the moment. Seraleth is channeling. No chance that happens. I guess just forcing cooldowns. I mean, actually, forcing out Haunting Wave from Sylvanas, actually fairly significant. Forcing out Haunting Wave just to interrupt. All right, Band-Aid, meanwhile, is targeted again. Fracture possibly looking for him, but no, we don't have Leap yet, so can't really close that distance. Band-Aid also does get thrown out. Eric is going to go down in the background, and it is level 10 talent tier advantage in favor of U.S. Army Esports, but it's not too far behind for Sands of Time, especially not with the Vikings soaking. There is level 10. Big things happening down here. Missing it again. Who is this caster? Constantly turning away at the wrong time, so Seralath is going to go down. And U.S. Army Esports now with a bit of a lead. Lead in experience, lead in kills, very small lead, and a lead in core shots. Yeah, maybe I should just not check the off lane ever again, because I seem to just miss some important things. Gonna see the Murden jump in, taunt goes out, but a beautiful soothing mist from that one guy, just completely negating the Garrosh taunt. The timing of the route from Malfurion wasn't quite perfect, so Murden was able to just jump out of there. And following up with the Malfurion route on Garrosh's throw, it is good. It just is a little tricky to time, and we did see an example there where the timing wasn't quite on point, so it didn't combo. Anyway, 5 down here in bottom for U.S. Army Esports. They do have an experience advantage. Big stun coming out from both Blaze and Sonya, but it's not enough to complete the kill onto Seralath, who gets the cleanse from the Into the Fray by Bone Z. Into the Fray, more like out of the fray. And I gotta say, Bone Z really just showing his proficiency on this hero, really trying to shut me up. I wonder if he's listening to the cast right now as he plays like, oh my god, who is this guy criticizing my Garrosh pick? Like, dude, let me cook. And you know what? I'm gonna let him cook because he's doing well. All right, stun onto Garrosh, possible engage. We're gonna see a polymorph followed up after that, but no damage to go in on it. Of course, our only range damage being the Sylvanas, but there is certainly damage coming out of Sonya. Oh, Bone Z might be in trouble right now. Bone Zed, I think he goes down here, and he does. Just too many stuns, not the Indomitable, not enough for him. And we're actually really starting to see Sands of Time on the back foot. Maybe the Vikings comp not quite paying off. IT Cowboy going to come in there trying to find an interrupt, but all he does is give a little bit more EXP to U.S. Army Esports. I believe that's Baylog moving top. This front wall has been pushed in just a little bit, but not a huge amount. So, maybe I don't know anything, because I was also criticizing the Sonya pick, but maybe this is working for them. Maybe this is how they're staying in this game. More than staying in this game. U.S. Army Esports actually, right now, leading in this game. In the driver's seat. 13 talent tier picked up by both teams. Nova really going all in on the auto attack talents from on Tychus, so almost guaranteed we're going to see the sizzling attacks at level 16 for him. And for the most part, it makes sense, again, against the draft that U.S. Army Esports has. Blue team hero killed. Another Eric kill. Possibly just occurring somewhere else, but I don't want to look at the offlane anymore. Otherwise, I'm going to miss a kill bottom, because that's how things work here. All right, a little bit of a pause. Sands of Time going to try to take this ult, but look at this rotation from Blaze coming down here to contest. And that might be a big part of what's really helping U.S. Army Esports in this game. Whenever Sands of Time wants to take their camp, U.S. Army Esports decides to just take the invade. Have Blaze rotate, and they have the luxury of doing that as long as they're still up in experience. Meanwhile, someone gonna get thrown, but it's actually a sapper that gets thrown in. That's like the worst of both worlds. Worst of all worlds. Didn't throw in a hero, and you moved a sapper in closer to actually just take out, to just do some permanent damage. Ace Boogie gonna look to get this. He's not gonna be interrupted by, certainly not gonna be interrupted by a Vikings. They're nowhere near close. So guaranteed 4 more core points in favor of US Army Esports. This game, they're actually really starting to run away with this game. Big leap with the Wailing Arrow follow-up. That was squeaky clean, and they might get more. Bonesy using Bloodlust, or using... That's not called Bloodlust. Using his W ability to get that healing. Nova trying to drop the Odin. But that's just going to result in both the hero Tyke is dead as well as a big cooldown as well. And this game is actually just snowballing more and more in favor of US Army Esports. Now their EXP lead is huge. 16 to 14, about a level and a half. They're going to get the bottom fort with that Black Arrows from Sylvanas. And definitely one of the great things as I'm starting to warm up to US Army Esports draft even more is this combo of Leap Sonya with Wailing Arrow from the Sylvanas. Uh-oh, but did US Army Esports bite off a little bit more they can chew? Maybe not. They took a structure. Soon that structure is going to be theirs and everyone gets out. This is now a commanding lead in favor of US Army Esports. 2 structures to reclaim. 4 Sands of Time. They're going to take this one back with a Tychus. They will burn it down pretty quickly. Tychus and a Tassadar. And what does US Army Esports do with this? You know, I'm actually... It looks like they'll go for the boss to just kind of tighten the noose on Sands of Time. I'm not actually sure if I like that they just gave up the bottom tower. Really just gave it up. And they get this. It's permanent damage. I wonder if keeping the bot tower... would have been a better choice strategically. Especially now, they're moving back bot. I guess they want to take it back. Oh, they're going to try to just get the kill on Tychus. Yeah, and there's no way... No, dropping Odin's not going to help there. That's just going to be the cooldown going as well. And that's going to be another Tychus plus 100 second Odin cooldown. And I guess they just take it right back. Didn't even matter in the end. They take it right back, so now a little bit of ring around the rosy. Sands of Time took back the mid fort, but US Army Esports took back that bottom tower. And that bottom tower, if anything, does matter more. So we're going to see a sapper camp taken in. I wonder, in this game, how many times has Sands of Time actually captured their own siege camp? I'm actually wondering if US Army Esports has captured it every single time. Anyway, things looking really rough here for Sands of Time. Game 3 is looking like more and more of a possibility. They'll get the 1 tower worth 3 shots, but that one guy was in the bottom, got that easy channel, and this one channel won't mean the end for Sands of Time if it does go in favor of US Army Esports. But you know who might be the end of? It might be the end of Tassadar. He's at 300 hit points, 145, and does go down. It is a double kill in favor of US Army Esports. And with that, oh no, I was wrong. I think there was a sapper camp that went in uncontested. And I think that's why we're down to 3 core shots instead of 6. And that will be game number 3 going handily in favor. Just kidding, not game number 3. We're not there yet. Game number 2 handily going in favor of US Army Esports. So certainly shutting up the caster with all his critiques of what is this draft choice when, you know, hey, they won the game. And that's what matters. Yeah, in the end, what I definitely didn't see out of the draft from US Army Esports while it was actually in the draft phase was the wombo potential of Sonya Blaze Sylvanas. And that was very, very threatening. There was one time in particular where it was super clean leap into Wailing, and it's just like between just those 2 abilities connecting, it was just like the fight was done right there. 14-2 in favor of US Army Esports. Looking incredibly strong that game. Take a look at our stats, see if anything seems Sonya actually, wow, Sonya actually in the end our highest damage dealer by a country mile. I don't actually know what that phrase means. I don't know what the difference is between a country mile and a mile, but it's a lot. Either way, 37,000 with the next closest being 28,000. That 28,000 being a Sylvanas. No, well, I guess the 29,000 from Tassadar. So, Fracture also having a much better performance in this game 2 than in game 1. Really redeeming himself here. So, let's take a look back at our map screen. See where we're going. Mark up our screens. We've got game number 2 going in favor of U.S. Army Esports. And that does leave us with 5 maps left in the pool. Infernal Shrines, Garden of Terror, Braxis Holdout, Battlefield of Eternity, and Tomb of the Spider Queen. Yep, game 3. Always fun to see game 3. It is a little disappointing sometimes, you know, when you get those 2-game series, and especially if they're game 2 series where one team was honestly just kind of stronger for the whole time. Of course, you know, teams want to win that way. They're trying their best, but the most exciting games from a viewer perspective going to be, you know, those ones that are close, that are hard fought, that go to game 3. Lobby has not been set up yet, as far as I know. We're not in the game. Wrong scene again. Yeah, and this is me. It's King Andrew. That is my Twitch title. It's my gamer tag. I'm an NGS caster, Heroes of the Storm player, voice actor. I think I went out of order. ARAM enthusiast and also a former elementary school teacher. I wear many hats. It's good to be with you tonight in this Game 3 series. Got a lot of people coming out supporting both teams. Some people I know, well, I actually don't really know any of you personally, but I've seen your names. That's what I mean. I've seen your names. I've seen your names around. I'm pretty good with names, so I've seen a lot of names around in NGS. I'm very good at remembering names. Chances are if you play in NGS and I see your name, then I know whether or not you play in NGS because my memory is pretty good. I play in NGS too. Finished my first series last week. Got another one coming up this Thursday. A little nervous. I'm nervous about just about every series this season because I expect all the opponents to be really tough. But it's not about me. Right now, both U.S. Army Esports and Sands of Time being tough opponents for each other. Games going back and forth. So, ideally, really want to see this last game be like super close. Super close. Because that last game was not super close. Game 1 was definitely closer. But it did feel like for most of the game that Sands of Time was stronger, definitely in the early game and the end game. So I want to see this game 3 be like just a real nail biter. The disappointing part of a 3-game series is when the first 2 games are really even, and then like game 3 is a complete wash. Hate to see that. Hate to see it, but again, sometimes it is what it is. Team's not trying to put on a show. They're trying to win. They're trying to win all 0 of the $0 prize pool in this online amateur league. So they must be thinking about it for a while. Obviously, it's going to be Sands of Time right now, who does have their choice of either map pick or first pick. Will we see the first pick Garrosh in Game 3 again? Will we see it? All right, finally. We've got the lobby. We've got the map. So, for game number 3 in this series, it's going to be the classic map that people almost always play that for some reason I'm having trouble finding in Soothsayer, even though the thing is arranged in goddamn alphabetical order. Why is this so hard to find Infernal Shrines? It's here. It's Infernal Shrines. Don't know who picked the map yet, but I'll find out very soon. So, Infernal Shrines. You know, some of the heroes that, quite a few of the heroes that Sands of Time have already picked are quite good on Infernal Shrines, particularly Tychus. Tassadar, I think, is also pretty good on this map. I don't know that 100% for sure, mostly because I don't play Tassadar and I don't really entertain the idea of playing Tassadar. I don't think very highly of the hero, but he certainly does provide a lot of clear on the shrine and can stay pretty far back, can use the force wall to lock someone into the shrine when maybe they're trying to get out. Was going to be, take a quick look at the map screen, was going to be U.S. Army Esports picking this map, I believe. So actually should be red. Did I mess things up? Jesus, I can't do this. It's too hard. But anyway, we're going to be going into the game soon. Vala also pretty good on this map, something that was played by Sands of Time. Trying to think of, out of the hero pools so far, what was good for U.S. Army Esports that might also be strong on this map. Johanna's strong on this map. Classically strong in many places. And what else did they play? If you do want to go triple bruiser, that's also, or triple frontline, that's also something that's pretty good. Sonya and Blaze actually also really good for Shrine. So they can do that again. Actually, even more so than last map, I'm not against U.S. Army Esports using the exact same draft that they had last map. Even though I was critical of it at first, I actually like it even better on this map than on Towers of Doom. So, I'm all for it. Let's see it again. I think I told them that I was ready. Yeah, I think we are just waiting for... I told them I was ready. U.S. Army Esports is ready, so now it's on to Sands of Time. Get this thing going. How you guys doing tonight? How's Baldur's Gate 3? You guys playing it? Me neither. It's just what I've been talking about when I run out of things to talk about, when things just go on too long. It does look like a fantastic game. I'm going to buy it in 3 years when it is down to like $30 because I don't like to buy games at full price. But I'm sure it's a fantastic game. I'm sure it's a fantastic game. My question, though, is... I wonder how much is it Baldur's Gate and how much is it Divinity Original Sin? I get the sense that it's actually a good mix of both, because I don't hear people complaining, this isn't Baldur's Gate, it's just Divinity. But also Divinity's fantastic as well. And we're going on wonderful tangents right now. If you haven't, you know what, if you finish Baldur's Gate 3, go ahead and play Divinity Original Sin 2, another fantastic game, probably similar style. And I think we're done with the talk about other games, because now finally we do have our Infernal Shrines draft. Also messing up the scores again, because I said that the wrong team won. Let's fix that. It's 1-1 Sands of Time versus U.S. Army Esports. Also, how much will this initial ban phase change? Because so far, the second game had 3 out of 4 bans being the same. So we'll see. Is it going to be that Lucio ban again? So our healer is that one guy. No, it's not going to be the Lucio banned out. So things changing. That Anduin proven to be too much trouble. Actually, I think Anduin was banned out last game. Could also be Sands of Time looking for the Garrosh again, and this time planning ahead a little bit more. Anduin certainly stronger in terms of saving a target that has been thrown by a Garrosh. And we're going to see the Hogger ban, a hero that, if anything, I feel like has been conspicuously absent in this series so far. Incredibly strong hero. One of the top 3 offlaners in the game, in my opinion. I believe he did get banned in one of the games. I think it was game 1, and then he had like 0 participation in game 2. Obviously, part of the reason we see his participation here is that he is actually super fantastic on the Shrine phase when you get the perfect spin. And we're going to see it's actually Sands of Time banning out the Garrosh. That is interesting. We had I don't know if they're just doing it to accommodate me, because I've been critical of the first pick Garrosh, and like, fine, you think the Garrosh is so bad? We're going to pick something else this time. Also wonder if it could be something like they're planning for a Diablo pick, which could be a possibility. And we're going to see this final ban come out. In this initial ban phase, going to be the Stitches ban. I'm not too surprised by that. I was kind of wondering if that was... I've caught some of these players on stream. I don't know, I don't remember whose stream exactly, but I've definitely caught some of these players just watching people streaming their games, and I'm pretty sure I've seen Bones playing as the Stitches. So sounds like he likes those displacement heroes, those really frustrating heroes. Okay, now, here's the thing. On the one hand, I love the Blaze pick because it's a Blaze, it's Infernal Shrines, fantastic, one of the top 3 offlaners in the game. On the other hand, I'm a little concerned that the name I'm seeing under that Blaze is Bones. I'm calling them all 3 until I figure out which one is correct, because I'm wondering if he's planning to play a main tank Blaze, and that's also... Bonesy just doing all the things that I am personally critical of. I'm very critical of main tank Blaze, and I very much hugely believe in offlane Blaze. Or maybe, even if it is a main tank Blaze, then I feel like I want to see, like, triple frontline again or something. Leo going to be picked up. Pretty good on the Shrine. It's going to be the Varian Stukov, so that actually explains a lot of why we see the Anduin ban. Going for that rather simple blow-up comp. Varian followed by the Stukov Silence makes it so that as long as you also have damage following it up, you can really blow up any hero in the game. Doesn't matter if it's Valo or Diablo. Because inevitably, maybe not inevitably, but most likely you're going to get 2 damage heroes. And when you have E-build Stukov on top, providing DPS levels of damage on top of 2 other damage dealers, it's just a huge amount of damage following up on Varian. And the big thing is with the Stukov is that so many tanks, maybe not even some, maybe just like all tanks, oftentimes tank survivability is based on using some sort of ability. Dwarf Toss, Iron Skin, Eldruin's Might. All of those things get them out of a normal stun engage. It's the Stukov Silence that makes a Varian comp able to kill any hero it wants. Johanna's going to be banned out, and the Tassadar banned out as well. Not liking that Tassadar. Tyke is going to be picked up this time on the side of US Army Esports. Again, just a very strong hero on this map. And it is going to be the Diablo. So they pick up the Tychus and the Diablo. So also taking the Tychus kind of takes the percent damage potential away from the Diablo, or away from the other team that would be against the Diablo. I have also heard some good players saying they don't feel that Tychus is actually that much of a counter against Diablo. Meanwhile, we're going to see the Sylvanas, so that's kind of our percent damage against the Diablo that we're going to need. And the Nazebo in that final pick. The Nazebo is what I am most critical of, but I do see some reasoning behind it. And it is going to be that gray main for Fracture. So a little bit of a huge amount of front-to-back potential out of US Army Esports as well. So, in the end, we do see the tank switch between IT Cowboy and Varian. Thank God I do not want to see main tank Blaze. Main tank Varian, I do believe in, although it definitely has its limitations and its potential struggles. So, taking a look at these drafts, I'm trying to figure out which one I like a little bit better. It's a tough call. I think I'm going to slightly favor, not flavor. I'm not flavoring any drafts. I'm going to slightly favor the draft out of Sands of Time, and I'll go into that a little bit more once we get into the game and after we've kind of gone, and after we just have the team introductions. Just I like to do that as a routine. But man, this loading screen taking us a little while. All right, we're in there.
Prepare yourselves for battle.
All right, it's 1-1. US Army Esports actually fighting back. And it's really anyone's game at this point. Don't know who really is going to come out in the end. But Sands of Time looking a little bit stronger in the early game. Bones going to be on the Varian. Saralath will be playing on the Stukov. I believe he was not the healer before. Nova is going to be on the Nazebo. And we are going to have the Sylvanas on the being played by Band-Aid. And IT Cowboy is going to be on the Blaze. Their opponents, US Army Esports, coming back strong in that second game. Fracture is going to be on the Grey Main. Honey Badger will be playing as the Diablo. Surefire on the Tychus. That one guy is going to be playing as the Lucio. And it's going to be Ace Boogie. What a fun name. Ace Boogie playing on the Leoric. So I do slightly favor the draft out of Sands of Time. I like what they have in terms of the Varian, Sylvanas, Stukov. And although we have the Lucio, the problem is that the Lucio can actually kind of struggle trying to do this, trying to use high five into a Stukov. And he also can't do that until level 10. Because I believe the way it works is I believe that high five will get interrupted if Lucio steps on the Stukov puddle before he reaches the hero that he's trying to cleanse. And we'll probably see that interaction at some point in this game, confirm whether I'm wrong or right about that. I am a little concerned about the Nazebo pick. I'm sure part of the idea behind the Nazebo pick is to use the zombie wall to trap them inside the silence. That's probably what the idea is, which does have some merit. My concern is that it's a hero who is a little bit lower on damage compared to other options, and Nazebo is also a little bit more of a late game hero, whereas normally if you're going for something like Varian Stukov, you want to be a little bit more aggressive about getting picks in the early game. We'll see how it works in the end. And that Fracture, going to be playing Greymane yet again. Talked about how that's a hero he prefers and feels strong on. We'll see how things go for him this game. Fracture going to be moving up with that one guy to their camp. Getting them Bruiser in preparation for the objective. 2 minutes and 10 seconds. That objective is going to start at 2:30. Sands of Time, meanwhile, not moving to that yet. Oh, it's actually IT Cowboy. And IT Cowboy, he has not picked his level 4 yet. They're actually looking for an invade instead. Kill this guy. Missed opportunity there. Unfortunately, Saralath a little bit behind the Stukov, or a little bit behind the Varian, rather, so he wasn't there quite in time for the kill, for the silence that really would have secured the kill on the Leo there. That's another thing about the Varian. With Varian, I think you really need to be ready to target whatever hero is closest to you, regardless of whether or not that hero is a tank, a bruiser, a DPS. You often don't have the luxury of being like, oh, but we need to get the healer or the DPS, because Varian's engage range just isn't that long. Meanwhile, US Army Esports kind of running circles a bit around Sands of Time. This game, really just getting here ahead on the objective. 20 monkeys already, 20 skeletal defenders, as they're really called. And at this point, I think Sands of Time, either they're looking for a kill at this point or they're giving this up. Bonesy goes in, gets the taunt, but that was on a Diablo who had Soul Shield. So the kill threat on him really wasn't that strong. Yeah, especially between Sylvanas and... Oh no, Varian does go down there. Yeah, but between Sylvanas and Nazebo, I don't actually think they really have the kill pressure, or at least it's not very strong. It's not super strong for them trying to kill Diablo if he's able to get that Soul Shield off first and then mitigate the damage of the Nazebo, mitigate the damage of the Stukov, and then mitigate the non-percent damage of some of the damage. Oh, we don't even have percent damage out of Sylvanas. Yeah, that's actually another thing that is a very big concern for me, the fact that we don't have percent damage on Sylvanas. Meanwhile, that taunt is going to result in a kill. I'm talking too much about why things that Sands of Time is doing are not working, but in the end, that taunt worked out. Lucio going down there, I think just caught being too deep there on the camp. I think they just need to be ready to give up that camp once that 5-man invade is coming in from Sands of Time. But yeah, I think particularly in this matchup in general, I think if you're playing Sylvanas into Diablo, I think going percent damage is very, very important. And especially in this case, when the other DPS on your team is a hero that does not have percent damage. Not that I can remember. I'm like 99.9% sure that Nazebo does not have percent damage, and is also someone who is more of a late game stacking hero and is not really built for early game burst damage. So at this point, yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
Engage going out here. Bonesy kind of caught in here, gets pushed in by that one guy. He's trying to get out, but can't seem to make his way out. Does get enough of a heal from Saralat that he's able to actually just walk on out of there. They're going to be moving up top. I've definitely been neglecting the offlane a little bit ever since that game where I was like missed 2 kills or like 1.5 kills as a result of looking at trying to look at things that are happening in the offlane. IT Cowboy moving his way mid. This is a 5v4. Sands of Time finding these engages, and we are going to see the kill onto what hero is that? I can't even see it. That is going to be the... I just forget what... That's the Greymane. It's the Greymane. So the Greymane was a target, and in that case, the taunt engage working. I think in part because the target was not a frontliner, and that's also something that I feel like in general generally shouldn't happen with this comp. I think US Army Esports really wants to be disciplined about trying to make it so that the only targets that are even present to be taunted by Varian are either Leoric or Diablo. Unfortunately, Tychus not even going to proc the armor from Relentless Soldier because Varian's taunt counts as a silence, so he's not even going to get that 30 armor against from Relentless Soldier. So, kills in favor of Sands of Time so far. They'll also have the positional advantage on the Shrine, but I do think that US Army Esports can play this. Question is, how are they going to play this? What are they going to do to make this work? Do we see Odin drop like now? I feel like they do need to be more decisive. There's the Odin. There's the engage out of Diablo. Taunt is going to go on to Lucio, who doesn't take any damage, and this is actually looking really good for US Army Esports. Saralath goes down. Nova also super low and does eventually go down. Are we going to see any kind of trade? That one guy is super low. Oh no, that one guy, I think he's able to stay alive based on the high five. The high five healing. High five does do self-healing, right? Yes. So self-healing on the high five, able to save him from that damage over time. Good engage from US Army Esports, and they needed to do it there. They needed to not be passive, given that Sands of Time already had the advantage. Oh, even more kills gonna go out. Fracture trying to show off his stuff on that Greymane that I talked up earlier and then struggled a little bit in game 1. Once again, going for, so far, the same build. I actually don't remember what he picked at 1, but definitely his 4, 7, and 10 the same. And this is interesting. They're gonna let the Punisher push mid, and they're gonna push top. And with a Greymane, and a Tychus, they actually have a huge amount of siege damage to push top. Tychus siege damage is often underrated. A lot of people discount his damage. Tychus's DPS on minigun, or sorry, on his auto attacks, even when minigun is not used, of course minigun doesn't work on structures, but even just his baseline auto attack DPS is actually very good. It's actually about on par with Greymane. And I think it's just that people are used to seeing Tychus's AA damage as being minigun, and not understanding that he actually does very fair auto attack damage, even good auto attack damage, even when minigun is not active. The thing, of course, is that Tychus has such short range, and he does need to stand still, so he isn't always able to fully realize the full potential of that DPS. Not the way that a Greymane can, that can stutter step and that has longer range. Camp gonna be picked up, failed engage by IT Cowboy. The jet propulsion will just slightly fall short, but not punished by US Army Esports. This time they're going to look to punish. It's going to be an Entomb, but who's actually in the Entomb? IT Cowboy trying to get out of there. He doesn't get out. Did he not have Bunker? He had Bunker! Where was it? Oh no. I can't. I'm super surprised that Bunker did not get hit there. No Entomb to trap Band-Aid or anyone else. But Honey Badger is just in there, diving in once again, and Saralath is going to go down. Does Honey Badger get traded out? No, yes he does! But it's going to be a 3-for-1 in favor of US Army Esports. So I am extremely surprised that IT Cowboy did die there with Bunker. I'm pretty sure that the Bunker cooldown did not come up before or after he died. And if I'm wrong, you know what, call me out on it. But otherwise, I thought he had Bunker, and I felt like he really could have used it. One important thing to know is that for an ability like Bunker, even if you're being stun locked, you don't have to wait until CC is over to try to press the R button. You can just hold the R button, and the Bunker will drop as soon as you are no longer CC'd, which is part of why I feel like that was a very survivable situation for Blaze. 7 kills in favor of U.S. Army Esports. U.S. Army Esports winning the fights, but not winning the structure war. Structures are actually still in favor of Sands of Time, but I guess really it's not hugely in favor. They've got 3 partially damaged structures, 2 that are actually pretty close to dying. What an invade here. Does Honey Badger go in? He kind of just stopped there. There's the engage, the APOC, but also the silence. Oh, silence is going to get interrupted. I don't think it just manually expired. I think it got interrupted. Meanwhile, Saralath is super low, but he's not going to get finished down. Fracture goes in and finally does manage to secure the kill with the go for the throat. Gonna get another on the Sylvanas, who apparently does not have Haunting Wave to get out of there. And this is a huge swing for U.S. Army Esports. They got the camp, and they've got all 5 alive with 2 dead from, oh no, and we're gonna see a fight happen. This is actually pretty good by U.S. Army Esports. They've got one hero doing the shrine, and the rest of their players are just looking for value elsewhere. And yeah, they can just do things like take down this fort. They could even take down this fort if they want before the Shrunisher. The Shrunisher? Oh my god. The Punisher gets down here. Like, I really want to see that rotation here. I don't actually even want to see the camp, but the camp's gonna happen. Just, you know what? I think they still have time. Actually, you know what? I'm wrong again. They have time for the camp, and they can finish this fort before the Punisher even gets there. I don't know why they're waiting. Move up to the fort. Take it. Take it. Oh, okay. They just want all the camps. Fracture can actually do that by himself, although okay, now he has Inner Beast. All right. U.S. Army Esports actually really in the driver's seat now. Frozen Punisher 2. We have the Odin called down. Punisher is nearly dead. We at least have the keep front wall. A little bit of damage on the keep. Successful defense by Sands of Time. What is that? Oh no, what was that? I guess he was just worried that he was gonna get, like, gonna get hit by Dark Flight and go for the throat there, but even if it was just Greymane, I don't think he would have died. So Bunker goes out. Alright, anyway, so U.S. Army Esports certainly looking stronger, taking control of this series ever since Game 2. Sands of Time very much still in this game. Very much so. At this point, I think they want to look for... They're obviously going to want to look for a fight. Probably sooner rather than later. I feel like the next Shrine phase will happen before U.S. Army Esports gets 20, but also maybe you don't want to risk them getting 20. So I think maybe they just want to look for a fight now. Either way, it's going to be pretty passive play. Yeah, this is rough for me because U.S. Army Esports is like a level and a half ahead. Honey Badger is looking for something. Whereas for U.S. Army Esports, I feel like for them, the idea is more to play for 20 and then hope that when the Shrine comes up, that basically hope that they have 20 in time for when the Shrine comes up. I think actually now, because the countdown hasn't even started yet for the Shrine. The countdown adds another 30 seconds. Oh yeah, this is absolutely a 20 talent tier advantage on the Shrine phase for U.S. Army Esports. Unfortunately, I'm a little critical of how Sands of Time is playing this. They are being extremely passive about it. It looks like they maybe are taking that opportunity for... Oh, but it looked like they were trying for the fight. Bonesy, or Bones, whatever. He's just... Okay, finally does get the engage, but they had been moved so far back. Fracture goes in. And I think that's just going to be a reset. IT Cowboy is all the way in there. How did he get all the way in there? Yeah, a disengage massively favors U.S. Army Esports because it's just an easy 20 talent tier advantage for the upcoming shrine. And there it is. Like, almost perfectly timed. Of course, they don't have 20 yet, but by the time that counter goes down, they should. I see. This is actually a good choice by Sands of Time. Force the potential even talent tier fight by invading the camp. But U.S. Army Esports does not take the bait. Question is, can they clear this camp fast enough and still make it to the objective on time? Meanwhile, looks like, oh, yeah, I mean, I think at this point, Sands of Time just not even contesting that objective down 20. Instead, they're going to soak, they're going to take camps, they're going to paint the map blue to the extent that they can. It's a little bit obvious, but also in one sense, maybe it doesn't really matter. Because the shrine is free for U.S. Army Esports pretty much no matter what. And although the camps are good from Sands of Time, it's really more of them making the best that they can of a bad situation. Whereas U.S. Army Esports just content to take the advantage that they have. This is interesting. Potentially push with it, see if they can pull someone away. I even think it's... Okay, they're just going to all move back. I was going to say, I wonder if it's worth it for one person to stay and draw the attention away from the Punisher. But actually, they drew attention away from the Punisher anyway. Okay, now this is starting to look a little sus. Because now U.S. Army Esports is almost back here. Only Fracture who's kind of lagging behind. But honestly, with the Punisher, I think U.S. Army Esports can still go in if they are able to, or if they decide to. But eventually they will just be able to pull back behind the key front wall, which is a good choice, and ultimately really, really good damage control by Sands of Time. I didn't like how passive they were leading up to level 20, but once they got it to a point where it was pretty much guaranteed that U.S. Army Esports was going to have level 20, I think they made really good choices from that moment on. Meanwhile, level 20 talent tier is going to come in. Oh, yeah, we see Fracture really going almost all in on the Worgen build. I say almost all in because really all in would involve going Razor Swipe at 13 because you get CDR and Razor Swipe. And the level 20 Tooth and Claw benefits from that. Anyway, this wraparound not quite going to work out from U.S. Army Esports, at least not yet. The Entomb comes in. Saralath is looking okay, despite being in the Entomb. He's going to throw down the Lurking Arm, and it's actually Surefire, who is super low and is in trouble, but it's Nazeebo who goes down first. Nazeebo, meanwhile, did manage to get Vile Infection completed, so that's something that I've also completely forgotten about. Also, a great thing about Sands of Time making it to level 20. So with this one hero death, it looks like U.S. Army Esports are going to try to force their will a little bit, see if they can push into this keep. But the clear from Blaze is making that a little bit difficult. Bonesy does get overpowered or flipped over, but doesn't get charged in. Bonesy, I feel like it's still a little risky. What's the counter on Entomb? Yeah, Entomb is coming up in 2 seconds. Oh no, I think IT Cowboy might go down, and he does manage to charge out. The Entomb's going to go onto the backliners instead. Fracture's going to jump in, and oh no, this could be the beginning of the end, and I think it will be. I think that it is going to be Game 3 and the series going in favor of U.S. Army Esports with that potential 5-man team wipe. Nope, Bonesy is going to get away, but it's too little, too late. And, yeah, that's it. Nazeebo is up. I don't think there is any world, even the most heroic defense attempt, can bring this back. I think the only way is if U.S. Army Esports actually just walks away from their keyboards. But that's not going to happen. They can walk away now because they've won the series. That's Game 3 and the series in favor of U.S. Army Esports. Good recovery by them. That first game, honestly, that first game, Sands of Time looked like the stronger team to me. They played like the better team in the first game, but then, well, in games 2 and 3, U.S. Army Esports played like the better team because they won. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Anyway, taking a look at our stats here, seeing what we got going on. Nazeebo, highest in damage in the end, but not quite mattering. Greymane doing very well this game. high damage for his team, high kills. Take a look at the talent builds for you. And yeah, just taking a look at what's going on here. All right, I'll look to see if possibly get an interview from someone. I'll be in a lobby in case they're interested. All right, so I'm in a lobby. Gonna have Fracture coming in here. Probably Fracture. He's the one I messaged coming in here any minute now. Yeah, here he is, I think.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Good. What's up? How you feeling? How you feeling after that series?
We are feeling good. It was a very, very back and forth series. I felt like we played really, really strong games 2 and 3. Even game 1 was really comfortable. I think we just misplayed that last fight. The Dragon had a really good kick in the middle of that team fight at the end in bot lane, but feeling really, really good about how we played the team fights specifically.
Very, very good.
Games.
So, you know, I followed your team a little bit over the seasons. I know you guys have been around for a while. Some couple changes happening over the course of time. Can you just tell me a little bit about your team?
Definitely. Unfortunately, being in the army and everything like that, we have a lot of people getting deployed, getting PCS to other time zones that no longer work for their families, things like that. So that's why you see so many roster changes throughout the year for USAE. But I've been really happy to be a part of this program pretty much my entire army career. Going on seven years now, I've been part of the program, and really enjoyed all the teams that have, all the players that have come through, and the support from their families giving us time to play and things like that, in addition to active duty requirements and things like that. So
are we saying
we're just happy to be back
of U.S. Army Esports?
The USAE program has been around since about 2015. I joined it at the beginning of 2017.
Is it not exclusive to HOTS?
It is not. USAE is actually across a ton of titles. Believe it or not, you can look into it. If anyone ever wants information, absolutely just hit us up. But there's actually, they have teams for Call of Duty, League.
That makes
Halo,
more sense now.
Everything.
I thought it was more just like guys came together. I'm like, we're gonna, and maybe like you guys were in the army, so you made your team called U.S. Army Esports. I didn't realize that there was a bigger organization behind it, and it would make sense, especially if it's been around that long, that it's not just in HOTS.
Definitely.
Yeah, cool. And so I guess next thing I just like to ask is, how did you guys kind of handle it mentally with, losing game 1 and then coming back really strong in game 2? How did that work out?
Despite the way the buildings looked, I felt that we were in control of all the team fights in game 1. And there was just an unfortunate play around, we planned to fight past the Dragon. I was in a really good flank position. Joe was looking to engage, and just a small misplay of him not hitting his trait and Dragon getting that
kick. The moment you're talking about, yeah.
And it left me because I popped out. I'm expecting the blessed shield, and it left me kind of just walking around in their back line. It was just a really really unfortunate misplay. The whole team was planning to dive there. I think we were in control of the team fights, even though we had made a mistake prior to that play where we sent too many people to kill Malthael. He returned, and we lost our bot keep. So it was a very, very not worth game.
Oh, yeah. I remember that exact moment, too. Yep.
So it was just, it's a level 20 HOTS fight, or a late game HOTS fight. Late game, any team fight can win the game, and we just fumbled it.
I see.
But I had a feeling with the way that we were playing that we could continue to play dive against this team and punish the kind of low mobility, low burst heals output. And that's what we looked to do. I was like, hey, keep your heads in it. I'm pretty sure we can come back and win this with more dive. It worked really, really well. So we kind of just had the go button in our head.
All right. I even got to ask a little bit about you're a fellow Greymane lover. So much so you play the hero quite a bit. Well, what is it about Greymane that just makes your blood stir?
My very first MOBA was a game called Infinite Crisis. It was a DC Comics MOBA that got canceled, and Blue Beetle was a hybrid character. and I fell in love with the concept of being able to be ranged and melee, and knowing when to go in, knowing when not to. When Greymane came out, I played him for almost a year and a half straight. I didn't play anything else. For like a year and a half straight, I just played Greymane, and I just always loved the character. Always had very strong micro on him. Very, very happy to play him. It's just enjoyable to play. Like getting in, securing a kill as fast as humanly possible. It's just a very enjoyable play style. So I personally just love playing dive characters in general. So he lines up with that.
I certainly share your love for Greymane, even though I have a very different style. I'm a little bit more of like, I'm going to shoot for a very long time before I'm like sure that my dive is actually going to kill you. But definitely share the love for the character.
For sure, for sure.
So you're in C West, and definitely some teams that you've played against before, some familiar teams, some teams that I've been on. CCS is in there, I believe. Probably a few others. Who are you looking forward to playing this season? Anyone you're particularly worried about? How's that looking for you?
Well, since the whole collapse of Storm Division and a lot of Div B teams coming down towards us, it's definitely going to be this is probably going to be the most competitive Div C that we've ever participated in, because there's a lot of really good teams. You got Roll One out there, you got CCS, teams that we've played in the past. I'm really excited to fight Roll One again. Our match is scheduled for the 3rd of October. And since we had to unfortunately take last season off due to Army requirements and manning, I'm just really happy to get back in and fight these teams that we've fought before and be ready to, kind of come back with a new roster and show something. So I'm really excited. We're just really excited. I say Roll One and CCS are probably the two teams we're most excited to play.
I was going to say, I feel like you must have a lot of history with those two teams. I wonder, do you have like any history with Team Rainbow Strike Go?
We played them quite a while ago, but they moved up a div, I believe. So because it's kind of unfortunate, every time we get a really strong roster and we get ready to move up a division, people get out of the Army, people PCS, it's like, so we kind of had to get away from, or we unfortunately moved away from those teams. So I'm just happy to kind of have a chance to fight them all again. People have different rosters a little bit. People have been growing. People have been, scaling, if you will, throughout the NGS season. So I'm excited to refight everybody. It's just very fun.
All right, that's awesome. I think we're just about to wrap it up. Just gonna end it with, do you have any shout outs you'd like to give before we finally wrap this up?
Absolutely. So first things first, I want to shout out US Army Esports. We love the program. Very happy to be playing under their name and under their banner. Secondly, I want to shout out the families of all the soldiers on my team. We have a really, really stressful lifestyle being military, and they have to put up with us having practice 2 nights a week, sometimes 3 if there's a match, and supporting us, and they have been doing that for years. So we definitely appreciate the families and their ability to give us time to play this game that we love. Biggest shout out, Ace, Boogie, and that one guy, my healer and my offlaner. This is their very first competitive season of HOTS ever, and they are showing out. They've been playing really, really hard. They've been practicing a lot, putting in the hours, and I'm really proud of how they have developed so quickly we picked them up on the team, that one guy up, we picked him up in January, picked Ace up just in April, and in no time they kind of have filled into our style, the way I shot call, and really excited and happy with the growth that they've shown. They just won their first, this is their first win in competitive, and I'm excited to see more from them. So shout out to those two.
All right, very good. Well, that's just about to wrap it up. Congratulations on your victory tonight, and you have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you for the cast as well.
Of course.
And GG Sands of Time.
All right, boys and girls, and Murlocs, what else? What, Draenei, Night Elves, whatever it is. That's it. We are done. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, if you don't know me, I'm King Andrew. I'm a Heroes of the Storm player, caster, ARAM warrior, voice actor, former school teacher. I wear many hats. And now it's time for us to say goodbye. Hope to see you again sometime. You have a good night.